Rachel arrived at the family reunion with her 13-year-old daughter Ava, who sat in the passenger seat smoothing her shirt like she was heading into an interview. They came late on purpose, avoiding the early questions and fake hugs that always drained Rachel before the day even started. "Do I look okay?" Ava asked softly. Rachel glanced over. "You look like you." Ava sighed. "That's not what I meant." Rachel understood but kept driving. Ava looked out the window. "Are Grandma and Grandpa excited to see me?" Rachel hesitated. "They will act excited." Ava frowned. "That's not really an answer." Rachel nodded. "It's the honest one." Ava hesitated again. "What about Aunt Brooke?" The name landed heavily in Rachel's chest. "Brooke likes attention," she said gently. Ava tried to laugh. "Everyone likes attention." Rachel shook her head. "Not like Brooke." Ava didn't argue. She just sank a little in her seat, like her excitement had brushed against something sharp. But she straightened again quickly because she was 13, hopeful by nature, always believing a family gathering might turn out different this time. They stepped into the rented beach house, a modest coastal place pretending to be charming with weathered wood and the smell of old frying oil. The noise hit them instantly. Laughter, clinking plates, someone shouting a name like they were calling across a stadium. Rachel's father, Charles, noticed them first. "Rachel," he said, not warm, not cold, just acknowledging. He hugged her with 2 quick pats. Then Linda, Rachel's mother, stepped forward and immediately reached for Ava. "Oh my goodness, look at you," she said brightly. Ava lit up, unaware Linda could only be wonderful in quick, polished bursts. Then Brooke arrived. She didn't simply walk in, she entered the room like she was stepping onto a stage. "Rachel," she said with a smile that looked expensive. "Brooke," Rachel replied calmly. Ava looked at her aunt with polite curiosity, trying to like her. Brooke bent down and kissed Ava's cheek loudly. "And this must be Ava," she said as if she had discovered her. Her eyes flicked over Ava quickly, assessing. Then she straightened and gave Rachel the expression Rachel remembered from childhood. "I'm being nice and you owe me." Ava didn't see it. She only saw attention. A gentle shift in the room pulled everyone's eyes toward the doorway. Rachel's grandmother, Marion, entered slowly with the help of a quiet caretaker. She looked smaller than Rachel remembered, but her sharp eyes hadn't changed. Ava's face softened instantly. "Grandma Marion," she whispered, already moving toward her. Their bond had never been complicated. Marion hugged her gently. "There you are," she said warmly, like she had been keeping a place just for Ava. Then she looked at Rachel with soft understanding. "I'm glad you're here," she said. Rachel nodded. "Me too," even though it wasn't completely true. Dinner began in scattered waves. Plates passed around, conversations layered over each other, laughter a little too loud as people carefully avoided anything real. Ava stayed close to Marion, soaking in the safety her great-grandmother always gave her. Brooke stayed close to Linda, whispering, watching, adjusting her smile depending on who looked her way. Charles floated between tables, nodding, smoothing tension the way he always did. Rachel stayed quiet, hoping the night would stay steady. She watched Ava glow under Marion's gentle attention and thought, maybe we can survive this evening without a storm. When plates were finally empty and people leaned back like the hardest part of the night had passed, Marion stood. She didn't move quickly or dramatically, she moved deliberately, the way someone does when they know the room will listen. The chatter faded almost instantly. Even broken families still respond to certain elders. Marion rested her hands on the back of her chair. "I won't keep you long," she said. Rachel almost smiled because Marion never kept anyone long. Her words were always precise. Marion's eyes softened as she looked at Ava. "For my wonderful great-granddaughter," she said. "I have a gift." Ava froze in the best way, her eyes wide with surprise. Marion continued, "I've been working with my lawyer. I'm setting up a trust." The word trust changed the entire air of the room. Not for Ava, she didn't know what it truly meant, but the adults did. Linda's posture stiffened. Brooke's smile flickered like a light losing power. Marion stayed steady. "It will belong to Ava," she said. "Protected. No one can touch it. When she turns 18, it becomes hers." Ava whispered, "Grandma Marion," but Marion lifted a gentle hand for her to wait. "There may be small distributions before then," Marion added, "for things that support her future. But the main trust is hers alone." Soft applause moved through the room. A few relatives smiled politely. Someone murmured, "That's wonderful." And it should have been a sweet, peaceful moment. But Rachel watched Brooke instead. Brooke's face drained slowly, controlled but unmistakable. She stared at Marion like the trust money had been pulled from her own hands. Linda's tight expression matched her daughter's. Charles looked confused but didn't speak. Ava was still glowing, overwhelmed and unsure how to respond to such generosity. Marion sat down carefully, as if placing something valuable on the table and waiting to see who would try to reach for it. The room shifted again, a new silence stretching across it. Then Brooke stood, not casually, not thoughtfully but sharply, like the moment she had feared was finally here. She pointed at Ava and said loudly, "She is mentally behind. You shouldn't give her money." The room dropped into stillness. Ava blinked, confused, hurt, her world tilting from one cruel sentence. Marion's eyes widened. She looked at Brooke and then at Rachel and said softly, "You really don't know who she is?" Brooke's mouth opened but her confidence faltered. "Wait, really?" she asked, suddenly sounding less like the room's star performer and more like someone who had walked onto the wrong stage. Marion didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. She simply said, "Ava, sweetheart, stand up for a moment." Ava hesitated, hands trembling, but she stood because quiet kids often carry a deeper kind of bravery. Marion looked around the room. "Some of you already know this," she said calmly, "because you've actually been in her life." A few people shifted uncomfortably at the truth in that sentence. "Ava was accepted into the Larkin Academic Fellowship Program," Marion said. A soft gasp rippled through the room. "It's a highly selective gifted program." More murmurs followed, surprised ones this time. Ava's cheeks flushed as she glanced nervously at Rachel, unsure if she was allowed to feel proud after such a public attack. Marion continued, her tone steady. "Straight A's. Strong recommendations. Impressive interviews." Then she added almost casually, "And I paid the deposit." That detail landed sharply. It made the achievement real, recent, undeniable. The only way Brooke didn't know was because Brooke hadn't been present. Brooke's arms slowly dropped to her side, her body remembering how to move again. Marion tilted her head. "So when you say you know who she is," she said softly, "I have to wonder, which child are you talking about?" Ava swallowed hard, her breath shaky. Linda stared at the table, studying the wood grain as if it might offer her an escape. Charles shifted uncomfortably, wanting the moment to pass but unwilling to defend anyone. Brooke looked around like she was waiting for someone to rescue her, but no one stepped forward. The room had already chosen a side. If anyone had told Rachel 10 years earlier that Brooke would publicly tear down a child to protect her pride, she wouldn't have believed it. Not because Brooke was kind, Brooke was strategic. She only performed cruelty when she thought she would win. For Brooke to gamble like this meant something else was at stake. Something bigger. Rachel understood too well. It wasn't about Ava. It was about money. It was about control. It was about losing a spot she thought she owned in the family story. And now that the trust was slipping away, Brooke had panicked. To understand the depth of Brooke's resentment, Rachel had to remember childhood. Brooke wasn't just the favorite. The entire house bent around her. Whatever Brooke wanted, life rearranged. Rachel learned early that her accomplishments were accidents, while Brooke's were destiny. When Rachel won a choir audition Brooke desperately wanted, their parents treated it like Rachel had taken something from Brooke rather than earned it. Brooke never forgave her. Their parents never corrected it. Resentment became a quiet family tradition, passed down like a delicate heirloom no one admitted owning. Years later Rachel left home without ceremony. She didn't slam doors. She simply stopped chasing approval she was never going to receive. In her loneliness she made a classic mistake. She mistook attention for love. A relationship moved too fast, promises unraveled even faster, and she found herself raising baby Ava alone, trying to create safety out of thin air. Ava was wonderful but wired differently, bright, emotional, overwhelmed easily. Before they understood the ADHD diagnosis, Rachel lived through storms of confusion, trying to parent a child she loved desperately while navigating a world that misunderstood them both. The turning point came when Ava was 7. They visited Linda, Charles, and Brooke. Ava, excited, talkative, and restless, moved through the room the way only children full of energy do. Linda watched her like she was inspecting a flaw. Brooke commented that Ava was a lot. Then, in front of Rachel's child, they quietly speculated she was behind. They suggested special schooling in that soft, superior tone people use when pretending to be concerned. Ava heard every word. Rachel watched her daughter's face collapse in confusion and shame. That moment became the final crack in Rachel's trust. Rachel pulled back completely after that visit. No screaming, no dramatic confrontation, just distance. She built new routines, found resources, and eventually received Ava's ADHD diagnosis. With structure and support, Ava thrived. Her mind was bright, sharp, and focused when understood correctly. She excelled in school, learned new coping tools, and regained confidence. Through all of this, Marion stayed consistent. She called Ava, listened to her stories, showed up, and treated her as a whole person. Linda and Brooke didn't. Their sudden reappearance months before the reunion began only when they heard Marion had money. That timing wasn't coincidence. It was motive. Rachel knew something was coming at the reunion. She just didn't expect Brooke to be reckless enough to attack a child in public. But Brooke's outburst revealed something important: desperation. And Marion saw it clearly. The room around them remained silent as Brooke tried to recover her footing. "I was only trying to protect you," Brooke said softly to Marion, her voice suddenly sweet and falsely concerned. "You don't know what Ava is like at home. Rachel coaches her. You don't see the truth." Linda jumped in with her usual tone of wounded innocence. "We didn't want to upset anyone," she said. "We just thought you should know." Charles nodded behind her, uncomfortable but unwilling to contradict his wife. Marion didn't take the bait. She didn't debate ADHD or defend Ava's character. Instead, she asked one simple question: "When was the last time you actually saw Ava?" Brooke blinked rapidly. Marion pressed, "Name something recent. Something you'd know only if you were part of her life." Brooke looked helplessly at Linda, who offered nothing. And that was when Rachel stepped forward. Rachel moved between Brooke and Ava, placing a steady hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Don't speak about my child like that again," she said quietly. Her voice didn't shake. It didn't rise. It landed. Ava leaned into her mother's touch, grounding herself. Marion looked at Rachel with something like relief, then turned back to Brooke and Linda. "This is about the trust," Marion said plainly. "And I won't tolerate manipulation." Brooke's eyes widened. "That's not fair." Marion lifted one hand, silencing her without effort. "We're done here," she said. A thick silence moved through the room. Brooke stared, stunned, unsure how to recover. Linda shook her head in disbelief. "Mom," she whispered as if Marion was the one being unreasonable. Marion didn't waver. "You need to leave," she said. Not loud. Not angry. Final. Brooke gathered her things stiffly, cheeks flushed with humiliation. Linda followed her, muttering under her breath. Charles hesitated, torn between loyalty and discomfort, but ultimately followed his wife. They left without apology, without acknowledging Ava, without a single sign of remorse. The door closing behind them sounded heavier than it should have. Ava held her composure for about 10 seconds after the door shut. Then her face crumpled. She cried the way children do when their world suddenly stops making sense. Confused, hurt, trying to understand why adults can be so casually cruel. "I didn't do anything," she whispered. Rachel pulled her close. "I know." Ava's voice trembled. Why would she say that? Rachel swallowed hard. There were answers she couldn't give her daughter at 13. She chose the gentler truth. "Because she doesn't know you," Rachel said softly. "And she wants to pretend she does." Ava wiped her tears angrily. "But Grandma Marion knows me." Rachel nodded. "Exactly. And that's why Brooke couldn't win." The reunion technically continued. People cleared plates, someone brewed coffee, relatives tried to pretend they hadn't just witnessed a child being targeted, but the energy was different now. Quieter. More honest. Marion placed a gentle hand on Ava's back before settling into her chair again. Ava stayed glued to Rachel's side, her confidence shaken but not shattered. Rachel thought the worst was behind them. She didn't know another storm was already building. The next morning, Rachel woke up to an email that made her sit upright before her mind even processed the words. It was from the gifted program. Polite, distant, formal. They had placed Ava's acceptance on hold pending review of a concerning video that had surfaced. A video suggesting dishonesty. A video affecting program integrity. The word paused burned in Rachel's chest. Her immediate thought wasn't internet drama. It was Brooke. Of course it was. Humiliation, trust money slipping away, and now this? Rachel grabbed her phone with shaking hands and searched for the video. She found it quickly, too quickly. A link in a group chat, a screenshot from someone she barely spoke to. Have you seen this? Rachel clicked. The shaky clip opened with warm indoor lighting. Ava's face filled the screen from too close an angle. A girl off camera giggled. Say it again. Ava laughed, except it wasn't her laugh. It was close but wrong. Everyone is so stupid, the fake Ava said. Rachel's stomach turned. She kept watching because she had to. In the video, Ava claimed she didn't want the gifted program, that she hated studying, that Rachel had stolen answers. The video, Ava bragged about cheating, claimed Marion was being manipulated, said the trust was the real prize. Each line was crafted to destroy her reputation. It wasn't just embarrassing, it was designed to rewrite the reunion, to make Brooke's accusation look accurate. The worst part was the performance. The smirk, the careless shrug, the casual cruelty. It was Ava's face, Ava's dimples, Ava's voice, except it wasn't. It was a cheap mask made from her image. Rachel stared at the screen, feeling the kind of cold that starts in your bones. Someone wanted Ava's life undone. Rachel's first instinct was to shield Ava, to keep her from seeing it. Impossible. The internet didn't care about maternal instincts. Footsteps moved down the hallway. Ava came out slowly, already sensing something was wrong. Mom. Her voice was tight. Rachel tried to appear neutral, but her face gave everything away. Ava's phone buzzed with a notification. One glance at the screen and she froze. She didn't even need to press play, she saw enough. That's not me, Ava said immediately, her voice breaking. I didn't say any of that. Rachel put a firm hand on her shoulder. I know. They're going to believe it, Ava whispered. Rachel shook her head. They're going to investigate it. That's not the same thing. Ava swallowed. Did the program see it? Rachel hesitated. Then she gave her daughter the truth she deserved. Yes. They put your place on hold. Ava's breath crumpled into a soft sob. So, I'm losing it. Rachel knelt in front of her. Not today. Not without a fight. Ava stared at her with terrified eyes. Rachel gently took the girl's phone and locked it. You're not watching it again. You're not reading comments. You're not letting lies live in your head. Ava wiped her face with trembling hands. Who would do this? She asked. Rachel didn't answer. She couldn't say Brooke's name without igniting a fire. Instead she said, someone did this to you. That's the only fact we're dealing with right now. Ava nodded slowly, but her fear lingered. What if Grandma Marion believes it? She whispered. That question hit Rachel harder than the video. Marion came from a generation that believed video was truth. Rachel pulled Ava into her arms. She knows your heart, she said firmly. And she will not be fooled. Rachel knew she had to act fast. Mother bear instincts didn't look like shouting. They looked like strategy. She called a lawyer immediately and secured a same-day appointment. She arrived with everything. Screenshots, links, timestamps, message threads. The lawyer watched the video without flinching. This is likely fabricated, she said. We can take action. They filed a police report. The officer was careful, professional, but he said the one thing Rachel needed most. Uploads leave trails. Platforms keep logs. That was enough to keep Rachel moving. She refused to let lies replace Ava's truth. Through the lawyer they contacted a digital forensics expert. He studied the video frame by frame. Watch her mouth, he said, replaying the moment where fake Ava bragged about cheating. The audio hit slightly before the lips formed the words. Mouth doesn't match. That's artificial. He zoomed into the jawline. A shimmer, then a snap back into place. Blend artifact, he noted. He pointed at the couch behind her. The pattern jumped for a single frame. Background inconsistency, he said. Finally he leaned back. This isn't real. This is manufactured. Rachel exhaled for the first time all morning. Write that down, Rachel said. The expert wrote a clear, formal statement confirming the video was fake. Rachel photographed it immediately. In the car, Ava sat quietly, trembling. Can you prove it's fake in a way they'll believe? She whispered. Rachel held up the letter. Yes, she said firmly. We can. At home, Rachel opened the family group chat and saw the video still being passed around. She typed, "The video is fake. A certified expert confirmed manipulation. Please stop sharing it. It has been reported and is under investigation." Replies came fast: embarrassed, apologetic, nervous. That evening, the gifted program emailed again. Still cautious, still formal but different. They acknowledged the possibility of video manipulation and confirmed they would not treat the clip as verified. The relief on Ava's face was immediate and heartbreaking. Later that night, Marion called. Ava hesitated before answering, afraid. "I saw the video," Marion said gently. Ava's breath caught. "Do you believe it?" Marion sighed. "I know my girl. I know the difference between your voice and a lie." Ava cried silently, relief shaking her shoulders. Rachel closed her eyes, grateful beyond words. Weeks blurred into each other. Investigation paperwork consumed Rachel's days. Ava continued school, holding tightly to the pieces of normal life she still had. Rachel protected her from details: court filings, deadlines, hearings, because Ava was 13, not an adult. But Rachel was present for the moments that mattered. The digital trails didn't stay hidden for long. The upload had come from a burner account, but the burner was connected to a phone number. And the phone number belonged to Brooke. Anonymous only lasts until someone asks for records. Suddenly, everything snapped into focus. Brooke was charged with harassment targeting a minor. She accepted a plea deal: 200 hours of community service, a year of probation, mandatory counseling, and a strict no-contact order with Ava. She was also required to remove the video everywhere she had posted it and provide written confirmation of compliance. Court wasn't dramatic. It was administrative. But the consequences were real. Brooke's bright orange work vest for community cleanup became part of local gossip. She couldn't spin her story into victimhood. Reality doesn't bend for pride. Linda and Charles weren't charged, but the family shifted around them. Invitations quietly stopped. Group chats slowed. Relatives grew distant. People became busy. Not angrily, just tired of choosing between truth and convenience. Marion finalized the trust without hesitation. $150,000 secured for Ava, locked until she turned 18, with limited early withdrawals allowed for education and developmental programs. A neutral trustee, not a family member, was selected. Brooke was cut out entirely. Linda and Charles were also removed from any advisory access. Marion handled it all quietly, cleanly, without drama. Time softened the crisis. Ava returned fully to the gifted program. She complained about homework, laughed with new friends, and started building a future untouched by lies. She still had moments of fear, moments when she asked, "Why did they hate me so much?" Rachel always answered the same way: "They didn't hate you. They hated what they couldn't control." Marion stayed close. She attended Ava's presentations, mailed her handwritten notes, sent articles she thought Ava would like. She didn't rebuild the family, she protected the part that deserved protection. The rest of the family pretended history had simply happened to them rather than because of them. But silence was a consequence too. Brooke never apologized. Linda insisted she had been misunderstood. Charles stayed neutral even when neutrality had consequences. Rachel didn't chase reconciliation. She didn't hold grudges, she held boundaries. One afternoon, Ava asked, "Do you think they'll ever say sorry?" Rachel shook her head gently. People who believe their cruelty is justified rarely apologize. Ava considered that quietly, a little older, a little wiser. Months later, Ava stood on stage at the Gifted Program Showcase, presenting a project she worked on for weeks. Marion sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Rachel watched her daughter speak with confidence, with clarity, with a strength that had survived lies, betrayal, and digital manipulation. When the audience applauded, Ava looked at her mother with a small, knowing smile. After the event, Rachel asked softly, "Did I do the right thing going to the police?" Ava squeezed her hand. "You protected me," she said. "That was the right thing. And that was the story's real ending."